Okay, hello. Welcome to week 4, everyone. I am downstairs in the basement on campus, and I thought I'd bring you down here so that you could see where the green screen studio is set up. I thought that might be interesting. So we're going to walk down here, and I'm going to show you where the green screen is set up. It's just a storage room with a bunch of lights in it, but it seemed like it'd be fun. So try not to get motion sick here. We're going to just walk down the hallway a little bit. Let's see. Can I turn around on the fly? I guess I can't turn around the image on the fly, so we'll just walk for a sec. Maybe we'll walk backwards down the exciting hallway. Don't trip. Don't trip. All right, here we go. Room. Tripod's a little bit of a mess here. Let's see, you got a bunch of computer equipment over there used by campus. Let's see if I can move us over. All right. There's the green screen set up right there. You can see through it when the lights aren't on. This is kind of what I look at when everything's running. Let me see if I can turn on the lights for us so you get a sense of what that's like. Let's see. Turn on these lights. There we go. These lights. There we are. All right, so I look at these studio lights here. Got one up in my office that I'm using for broadcasting. And then we get a nice green screen background, and that's what I then end All right, so this is supposed to be a little bit behind the scenes. I didn't intend to erase the green screen on this. I just kind of wanted you to see the lights and see what was going on down here in this space. We are going into week 4. We're coming off what I'd say is probably a pretty busy week, a lot of content. Focusing on HTML last week. As you know now, HTML is one of 3 different languages that are used to do the underpinnings of websites. We have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. HTML handling the content, a descendant of XML. CSS handling the presentation, and JavaScript handling the interactivity. So we looked at that last week. Tried to build up some of our understandings of the history of HTML and then how it's used as well. And then what we're going to do this week is we're going to continue our high and low approach, and we're going to be focusing on the CSS language, that part of the web app. So that's cascading style sheets. That's what CSS stands for. And that's a mechanism for styling your HTML. And by that, I mean applying a particular visual aesthetic to your HTML. They're often connected in web applications. You'll often have CSS in your HTML or referred to from your HTML. And we're going to look at different ways in which we can do that. Starting with our high-level stuff, though, we're going to continue in our academic line of papers. We're going to look at a third and final paper in our set of thinking about mobile and ubiquitous computing. And it's going to be called What Next UbiComp? An Academic Disappearing Act. And this is an interesting paper because it comes on the heels of Yesterday's Tomorrow and the Computer for the 21st Century. And it's basically arguing that mobile is so ubiquitous that our means of accessing data when we're moving through the world and working on mobile phones, tablets, all the things that have come to become part of our modern experience of computing are so part of every field of computing that calling it a separate research community doesn't make sense. So that's kind of the argument of this paper and something to consider as well. Also some ideas about the future in there as also. So influential paper by a guy named Gregory Abad. We're going to do a comprehension quiz on that, but then probably more importantly, we're going to do a little bit of a discussion and give everyone a chance to weigh in on the things we've been thinking about and where we think the field is going as well. So that's going to be our high-level part. That's our third paper. On our low-level part, like I said, we're going to be focusing on cascading style sheets. And so what we've got is 2 videos that I produced that are going to be focused on the structure and language and syntax of CSS. How do we put it in web documents? What does it look like? How does it function? That's going to be kind of a high-level overview of the CSS component of a web app. And then we're also going to go back into Code Academy and do some review of the CSS course that they have. Like our HTML class, we're not going to do everything. We're going to do some selected parts, the parts that I think are most important to learning for the next stage, the parts that are about picking out things in an HTML document to do the styling
and then learning about the different ways in which you can style a website. So that's going to be the important thing we do with CSS. 2 videos, 1 quiz, and a Code Academy piece. And then we're going to put it together with a slight modification to our Heroku application, where we are going to make a relatively small tweak, where we give a file a CSS skin. And I'm going to show you how radically different a particular HTML document can look with a different set of styling rules applied to it, meaning a different set of CSS rules applied to it. And it's kind of amazing how different they can look, and it's a relatively simple assignment. So it's a busy week, but I think it's slightly easier than last week. The only thing I would say is make sure that you pace yourself, because particularly with the Code Academy kind of work, you can really easily get yourself into a kind of mindset where you're just trying to click to get through stuff, and you're not really able to use it as an opportunity to learn, to really absorb what you're learning and have time to sort of reflect on it and build on it. So I recommend as much as you can to pace it out, do a little bit of the Code Academy every day rather than sitting down and trying to get it all done right at the deadline. It'll be less effective that way. Let's see. The other thing is, going forward, if you see that I am using an editor called VI or VIM or GVIM, this is a particular kind of text editor that you don't have to use at all. This is one that I'm comfortable with. But as we start doing editing of text documents, you should find a text editor that is effective at editing code. And I recommend that if you don't have an opinion on this already, that you look at one of 3 different applications to do your code editing. The first one is a program called Atom, ATOM. The second is a program called Sublime, SUBLIME. And the third one is probably the one I recommend the most. It's Microsoft Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code. All 3 of those are free. All 3 of them are cross-platform applications, so you can use them on Windows, Mac, or Linux even, I think. In particular, Microsoft Visual Studio Code has a lot of support for helping you catch errors and color code things well, and it's kind of straightforward. Do not feel like you have to use VI. That's something that I'm comfortable with, and it's kind of got some nerdy details to it that if you don't already know about them, now is not the time to learn it, I don't think. Thank you a lot for your feedback. Let me just run through some of the issues that came up in feedback. So for starters, YouTube is a great resource for all of us because on the creator side, it allows me to upload really large documents and get really high quality videos to you. And on the download side, it enables you to set different kinds of quality levels. It really handles different levels of bandwidth, all kinds of stuff. Couple things that's not so good for is distractions. So some of you have indicated to me that the ads are overwhelming on the videos, and that's actually the first time I've heard this. And so there must be something new in the algorithm for what YouTube is doing for ads. And I'll look on the creator side and see what kind of knobs I have to turn that down a little bit, because my goal is not to show you ads all the time. I would really like it to be a non-disruptive experience, but also be able to use YouTube for free. So I'll take a look and see if I can turn that down a little bit for you, because several of you commented that it was getting a little bit obnoxious. If you missed the password for the slide decks, the PDF slide decks that are in Canvas, the password is HCI, the abbreviation for Human-Computer Interaction, in capital letters. They should all be the same. A lot of different opinions about the quizzes that we've been offering. So the first thing is that from a pedagogical standpoint, the quizzes are really important for making sure that you all are tracking the material that we are going through. Some of you love them because they're really geared towards the videos. Some of you, you don't love them so much because you feel like they're too detail-oriented or something. What I would say is a couple points about it. We're not going to have quizzes the whole class. This is really the first third when we're doing these kind of quizzes and responses to videos. The second third is the Code Academy work, and then the final third is going to be coding and turning in demos of that code. So there's different kinds of assessments that we're doing over time. The quizzes are very low level, but then we also have some synthesizing activities as well. And both are important for pedagogical reasons to make sure you're getting the material. All right, let's see what else. Sorry about the releases. I'm trying to get them out on Fridays. Haven't been able to hit that every time. Oh, also on the quizzes. If you feel like you got graded something wrong, because of Canvas's auto-grading, please use the regrade procedure that's in the first week of Canvas to bring that to our attention. It is not our intention, nor is it appropriate for you to be graded incorrectly because you triggered Canvas in some way. If you think that what you did was perfectly fine and Canvas just misidentified it, please bring that to our attention, because that's not our intention and it's not what we want either. Now, I do say, though, that sometimes students think that what they've made is a typo, but it's actually a really important nuance for coding. And when you're coding, sometimes things that people in non-software engineering fields would call a typo is really an important error that you can't make when you're writing code. But bring that to our attention and we'll help work through it and figure out if there's something that you should have gotten credit for. Our grading is starting to come together. We're getting our grades out now. It took us a little while to get that up and running once the first week's deadlines were passed or the late deadlines were due, and that should be rolling out shortly. So, bringing this all together, this is all going to come together shortly. We've got all of these technical kinds of silos that we're building right now with DNS and IP addresses and XML and HTML. All of these things are designed to come together in the web application. Because when we start moving from this siloed technical bit into developing the web application, we're going to be bringing all of these pieces together with GitHub and Heroku and our web server and our code, and it is all going to come together in this reverse I application. So for those of you who feel lost or not sure how this is connecting to your user experience program, they all are going to come together in the web application. But also our goal here is to give you expertise and experience so that you can speak to software developers in an intelligent and informed way. So not everything here is skill-based for a UX designer. Some of it is an academic context that we're giving you for the history of where this field has come, so that as you get into more strategic or managerial positions, you'll be able to make strategic decisions effectively based on knowledge of the industry and the history that you're embedded in. Some of it is skill-based, but not geared towards a UX skill, but geared towards the skills of the people with whom you're going to work. And then some of it is to give you better understanding of how to do your job as a UI, UX, user experience designer, depending on kind of where you want to go. Some people come out of the program and actually end up wanting to do more software development. So there's a wide range of people that are present in our class, and we hope that you're going to get a solid education regardless of who you are, using all these different approaches to assessment and all these different approaches to presenting material. The course does move in phases. We're shifting out of the first phase now with this week. All right, so it's been great getting to know you through your online work and through Slack. I'm looking forward to this coming week. We will see you online. Take care.